One of the things that Tim said that I think is important, the idea that we can ban this or we can stop, that is absolute fiction.
Why? We ban rape?
Because
we don't ban China from putting Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps.
I'm talking about us, what we do in the confines of the United States. That's what I'm saying we. But we can't ban it for China.
Fair enough,
I agree.
But
I agree with you on that.
The things that you're talking about are going to have repercussions throughout all of human, through human history, because you're really what you're getting into is what kind of ways are people allowed to reproduce? What kind of people are allowed to reproduce? What kind of people are we allowed to make when we reproduce? Because in very short order, you're going to be able to decide, I want a child with these traits, those traits.
And that's wrong.
Stuff.
And people,
you can say it's wrong. What was that?
You can't stop it.
No, you can't. You can say it's wrong, but it's coming in another country, in a place with different morals, like whether it be China or
Mexico.
People are going
to go to Mexico to get their kids genetically engineered if the U.S. doesn't allow it. Then those kids are going to grow up in the United States as genetically engineered. They're going to have DNA from different species that's implanted through some virus. Look, they just cured a kid's blindness with the herpes virus, putting some genes in or whatever. It'll come to the point where there will be some dude walking around with cat ears or whatever because his parents were weird anime people. And then you're going to be like he's part animal.
You're not going to be able to tell billionaires that they can't go to another country and make sure that their children will never get cancer. Like when you've got a billionaire or millionaires and you're like, if you in this country you're not allowed to do it, but you can fly to whatever country in Europe and they'll allow you to edit the gene so your child will never have cancer. So your child will never have this. Will never have any number of genetic defects that you can guarantee that your kids won't have anymore. You are not going to be able to tell people they can't do that.
And there can be ethical treatments depending how it's done. So I think that's an important distinction to make. But back to the kind of question of, well, they're going to do it anyways if it's something that's unethical, right? That we could all agree this is an unethical thing, like, creating a 50%, if it was possible, I don't think it is, but creating a 50%, human and a 50% pig or something. But my point is just because...
Not the issue. I don't think it's unethical.
No, hold on. The percentage rate of someone's DNA doesn't matter.
But just because we can doesn't mean we should, right? And the whole point of a law, the whole point of any society, any civilization is to have rules of the road. We don't live physically without rules of the road. So what we do
when someone from outside the United States is genetically engineered and now lives in the United States?
We treat them with dignity and respect, 1,000%. But we still have a responsibility for in our country and whatever country we are a part of. This isn't just the United States. Other countries are called to be ethical too. It's not like just Americans should be ethical. Everybody should be ethical. And there's a lot of amazing countries outside of the United States that I would argue are more ethical than us. Malta, as an example, has eradicated abortion in Europe. So there's countries that are more ethical than us in the West. Chile is a very pro-life Latin American country. But the point is, we should be focused on what is the right thing for a society to do, what's the role of the law, and then we should pursue that instead of saying, well, technology is going to figure it out and eventually we're doomed to it. Think about nuclear warfare, right? We have nuclear weaponry, so we could just say, well, we're all doomed to die by nuclear weaponry at some point. I mean, you could make that same argument, right? But you could say, well, no, if we treat each other ethically and we practice ethics and we have good rule of law and good systems, we can avoid mass destruction.
Historically, it's always been like war, historically, not always, but over time. So I'm concerned that a country will develop super soldiers that can see super long distance, throw really far, and that they would invade and conquer. And if we don't have that same technology and super soldier program, that we just become serfs.
I think we can, if we started doing unethical things because another country was unethical, it's just somehow compete with them, we would die by our own sword in the end.
But if
it's simple.
It's not worth the risk of doing what's unethical just because someone else is, in the hope that you'll save yourself, because you're actually killing yourself.
And then you cease to exist.
And then you cease to exist. So that's why it's better to go down in flames doing the right thing in the end than kill the innocent person.
But what about the nuclear weapons program?
So right now, Republicans are doing literally nothing as Democrats indict and criminally charge a whole plethora of Republicans. Yeah. So my focus in terms of all this is cultural. We need cultural influence. You need media influence, and we seem to be winning on that front.
Timcast.